Welcome to Live with Michael D. I'm your host, Michael D. Butler in San Antonio, Texas, and I am excited about what God has for you today. We've been going live now I think this is our third week, and we just share some good news for about an hour, and we've actually got a great guest lined up today. Our guest today is from Austin, Texas. He's a financial expert. His name is Roy Snarr. He's a young man, younger than me, so I'm young, and that makes him even younger. And he's done some pretty remarkable things in his life. So you're going to love hearing from him. But I want you, no matter where you're at, if you're in the car, if you're at work, if you're at the gym on the treadmill, grab a pen, pop in your earbuds, and share this on your page, because I'm going to share something and Roy's going to share something that you need to hear today. And we're talking about the coming financial devastation and the inflation. How do you hedge yourself against the coming financial inflation and the recession that we're in? How do you protect yourself? Are there things you can do to protect yourself? You know, right now our national debt's at 31 trillion and growing. Last week I pulled up the national debt clock. It's growing on a daily basis because we've got a federal government that just can't stop spending like a drunken sailor. Kelly Lord, how you doing? Good to have you here today. Glad you're with us today. Feel free to pop in your questions into the chat. We're going to be taking questions in about 15 or 20 minutes or so. And then Roy Snarr is going to be joining us as our guest today and talking to us about how to hedge yourself against inflation, practical things you can do to save money, to stretch dollars. I just got off a great interview with one of our powerful female immigrants in the Powerful Female Immigrant Series, Magana Arga from Albania. And we were talking about this very thing. You know, Magana grew up on a farm in Albania, and she was talking about her family sold eggs so that they could fund her brother's education. You know, I think sometimes we don't realize that we can be resourceful, we can do things, we can create a business. She was really blessed to be growing up in the home with two entrepreneurs. Her mom and her dad were very entrepreneurial. And I got to say, times like these don't take your creator by surprise. Times like these are times to innovate. They're time to reinvent yourself. They're time to take action, and they're time to make things happen. So share this with your friends and jump right in. If you're watching us on Facebook, if you're watching us on Twitter, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can type in your comments like Kelly just did, and they will show up on the broadcast. And you can tell us where you're watching from. Would love to know where you're watching from on the Live with Michael D. And so it's been on my heart for a long time to go live. And I think every successful business person needs to transition to going live on a weekly and a daily basis. The power of going live to grow your business, to grow your brand, it's very helpful because you've got something to say. And when you know who your customer is and you let people know what you've got going on, give a ton of free content, share free content, and it really changes lives. And I was thinking about the scripture this morning, and I'm just going to Google it, because it says, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. So if your trust is in the Lord, you've got an answer for your problem every day. Thank you, Nadira. I appreciate you. Speaking of Albania, the woman that inspired this series right here, who's in volume 3. Thank you, Nadira. What a great story there from New York. Wow. So excited about featuring you in this volume along with your daughter. So always be thinking resourceful. Always be thinking multiple streams of income. We were talking about this the other day in Dallas. I was reflecting on my very first understanding about money. So I remember my uncle, he's still alive today and he's about 90. He always bought us books for birthday and Christmas. And you know, when you're 6 years old, you want toys, you don't want books. But I quickly learned that his books were special because his books gave us so much knowledge. And there was a book about the mint and the national treasury, and I started a coin collection. It was really exciting to start this coin collection. It's only worth a few dollars, only had a few coins in it, but it was the bicentennial year. It was 1976. So that was the year that the U.S. turned 200 years old, because we were celebrating our 200th birthday, 1776 to 1976. And I was 7 years old, and I was so excited. I had a bicentennial quarter. I had a bicentennial silver dollar. I had a bicentennial nickel, and I had a bicentennial $2 bill. The Treasury came out with the $2 bill that year. And so those are a collector's item. In fact, my wife, Mu Young, collects those to this day. She loves collecting $2 bills. She has them everywhere. And those do make great gifts. If you're sending out Christmas cards or birthday cards or thank you cards, it's just a nice little touch to tuck in a $2 bill. It means a lot. And so I was learning the value of money. So I'm 7 years old. I'm at my friend's house named Shane Winfrey. And his mom might be watching right now. Hey, Peggy, how are you? Do you remember when I'm over at the house playing with Shane and Rodney, and I leave that day? I was really impressed with the coin collection. The coin collection Shane had was more epic than mine. He had older coins, rarer coins, lots of different coins from different countries, not just from the U.S. But we looked them up in the coin book, because my uncle gave me this coin book where you could look and see the value of the coin, and it would give you an estimate based on when it was minted, where it was minted, how rare it was, and it would give you a value of that coin, and you could sell it to collectors. It had some value. Well, he was only about 5 or 6 at the time, and he had all his coins in these Ziploc bags. And we're playing, and then he's like, "Oh, that's my coin collection." He's like, "If you like it, you can have it." And my eyeballs lit up like saucers, because I'm thinking, this is worth hundreds of dollars, maybe thousands of dollars. And I get home that night. My mom can hear me. I'm rattling. I sound like a candy bar vending machine, a Coca-Cola vendor with pockets full of quarters. She can just hear me shaking and rattling. She said, "Michael, come to the kitchen." I knew I was in trouble. She says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Shane gave me his coin collection." She says, "I don't think so, young man. Tomorrow you're going to march yourself back over there, and you're going to return his coin collection." And I had to do it. That's what I had to do. I mean, I enjoyed it for about an hour until I got home. And then I had a call on the phone and apologize. Say, "I'm sorry, Shane, I'm bringing your coin collection back tomorrow." So I told my mom, I said, "Mom, I want to make some money. How can I start a business? I want to make some money." Now, I had friends that were throwing newspapers in town. They were paper boys. And I don't think there were any paper girls. I don't remember any paper girls. I don't know if they wouldn't hire paper girls, or just maybe they never applied for the job. But I had 3 or 4 friends. John, we called him Goober, Kenny Ware, Jody Higgins. They were all paper boys, and they always had money. And I told Mom, I said, "I need a job. I need to make some money." And we lived out in the country. We lived 9 miles out in the country. We lived so far out in the country that I had to play baseball on my brother's team. I had to play sports on my brother's teams. He's 2 years older than me, but because we lived 9 miles out in the country, doesn't sound like a far ways now, but when you're talking about dirt roads and things like that, it was rural, very rural, only the cows. There were 4 kids living within a 4-mile square block of 4-mile square of where I lived. And 2 of those boys were me and my brother. So it was me, my brother Kenny, and David and Tony. There was only 4 of us. And we played on the same baseball team, and we played on the same basketball team, because the moms would take turns driving us into practice, driving us home, driving us to the game, driving us home. And I told Mom, I said, "Mom, if we lived in town, I could have a paper route and I could save money." She's like, "Well, you don't live in town. We live in the country. So let's figure this out." So I can remember the next Saturday, we had this idea. My brother and I were going to collect cans, and we're going to go around where people have thrown their beer cans and their soda cans in the ditches in this 8-mile radius around our home. And we started early, like at 8 in the morning, which was early for me back then. And by 2, 3 o'clock, we're sweating. I mean, we filled a couple black trash bags filled with Budweiser cans and Michelob Ultra and Coca-Cola and Dr. Pepper. And we're smashing these cans so we can get more in the bag. And we're just dreaming the whole time as we're sweating and working. And mom's driving the car and she's got drinks and snacks. And we're taking a break every 30 minutes or so because it's getting hot. And I'm thinking of all the things I'm going to buy. I'm thinking of all the things I'm going to buy because, hey, I'm working and I got a job. You know, my parents, they taught us the value of hard work. They taught us that to work an honest day for an honest day's living, that's a good thing. Growing up on the farm, we always had chores. I was talking to McGinna about this on the podcast. You know, we got an allowance. It was normally like $2 a week, but that was for work we did 7 days a week. 7 days a week, we had to feed the cows. 7 days a week, we had to move the cows from one pasture to another pasture, feed the dog, take care of the dog, do the chores, sweep out the garage, take out the trash, mow the lawn. These are jobs you had to do as a kid on the farm. And anytime you asked for a raise, my dad said, I love him for this. I didn't appreciate it at the time, but he says, son, you get paid every time you put your feet under the table. So I would ask him for the raise, and mom would give us $2 a week. And that was for snacks. And of course, back then, you know, a soda was 10 cents. Get a can of soda out of a machine for 10 cents as a kid. You'd go into a convenience store and you could get a candy bar for 10 cents or a quarter. And things have sure changed. But as we're picking up these cans out there on the dirt road and people are speeding by and getting dust all over you and you're coughing in the sweat and you're getting all grimy and slimy from the dirt, I'm thinking about all the things I'm going to buy because I'm thinking this has got to be $15, $20. I'm thinking I can buy a skateboard. I could buy all the, video games had just come out, Atari 2600. You had Pong and, Frogger and those types of games and Tank, that was really exciting back then. And I could buy a new video game. They only had 3 when they came out. They had like a new one every 6 months because technology was just getting started with video games. And I thought I might be able to buy a bicycle. So we finished picking up cans. We drive into town. I think we had to drive into town on Tuesday because there was only 1 day a week that you could turn in your cans. And speaking of cans, there you go. I enjoy drinking non-calorie, non-sugar drinks. No sugar for me. But I like the Fizz. And no, they're not a sponsor. Maybe they should be. I should reach out to them. And in fact, one of my authors, Madison Malloy, who's in my Billionaire Business Branding Mastermind, sent me a picture of her reading my book, Finding the Speaker's Edge, the other day. And she's got one of these drinks. And I'm like, I love Polar drinks. I can't believe I didn't see that in the picture when you first sent it. So we're talking about business. We're talking about multiple streams of income. We're talking about becoming a powerful storyteller. We're talking about finding your voice. We're talking about leveraging your voice, your networks, and your relationships to provide more value to people. Because if you want more income in your life, the way to create more income is start with more relationships. Just on the interview, I'll mention her again, McGinna talks about powerfulfemaleimmigrants.com. She talks about people over relationships. People over relationships. Powerfulfemaleimmigrants.com. This is an example of an idea that we had because of 2 immigrants that said, we should do a book, and we collaborated. We created. Now we're on our 3rd volume of Powerful Female Immigrants, and really creating a movement featuring these ladies' stories. Check this out: women from all over the world, from South Africa to South Korea to China to Taiwan to all over Russia, Estonia, Latvia, everywhere. And just to hear the amazing stories of the challenges these women went through and how they made their situation, came here and didn't have much support, didn't know anybody, didn't know the language, and what they're doing now. So they're telling the story to the 20-year-old version of themselves if they could go back in time and give themselves advice. And that's what I want you to think about today. This is not the first time you've been in a situation where you needed more income streams. In a moment, I'll tell you about how my grandfather got into real estate and why that was such a blessing in his life. Because as I'm sweating out there as a 7-year-old kid, my brother is, 9 years old. And I don't think he was as into it as I was because I was really motivated. I could see what I was going to buy. And we take these cans into town. We lived on a farm in Oklahoma. take them into our small town there on Tuesday, and we weigh them in, and I can just imagine how much we're going to make. And I made a whopping $1.75. That's right, $1.75 right there on the spot. My dad talked to the guy, did the exchange, handed me the cash. I think my brother got like $1. I got $1.75 because I harvested more cans than Ken. And I was disappointed and excited at the same time because $1.75, that was a week's worth of allowance for me almost. But I'm like, I thought I'd make at least 10 or 20 bucks. I'm a little disappointed that it wasn't more. But you know what? In that moment, from stealing Shane Winfrey's coin collection to working for 5 hours, sweating, picking up cans, I learned the value of $1. I learned the value of hard work. And I can never forget to tell you that I followed my parents around the farm and said, is there anything I can do to make money? Is there anything I can do to earn money? And my dad's famous line, every time you put your feet under the table, son, you get paid. And then my mom's line, and Kenny and I learned not to say this. We learned not to ever say on the farm, you never tell mom, dad might laugh at you, but if you told mom, I'm bored. Well, you weren't going to be bored much longer because she would give you stuff to do, and it wasn't something you're going to get paid for either. She says, okay, I got something you could do. You're like, Mom, never mind. And you'd run and act like you didn't hear her. Because it would be some awful work of crawling under the house or pulling weeds in the garden or something like that. But I believe in the power of hard work. I believe in the power of an honest day's wage and an honest day's living. And you want to ask yourself, what value can I provide people? And one thing that I'm getting into this year in a big way is coaching. Coaching millionaires, billionaires, coaching people to go from 5 figures to 6 figures and focusing from going to 6 figures to 7 figures. You know, my publishing company did 3 million during the pandemic. And I went on to do some pretty incredible things in business over the years. And I'm taking the things that I've learned from my mentors and my coaches in life, and I'm sharing it with you. And we've only got 3 spots left. And you can text BBB to 918-955-3227. In fact, our next guest is the top long-term care agent in all of Texas. His name is Roy Snarr. He's a young man. He's in his 40s. He's got a wife and 3 kids, and he's just tearing it up in the space of insurance. But he's got an amazing story of humble beginnings, how he got into that business, how his family had some incredible misfortune and tragic circumstances happen to them when he was a 14-year-old boy and beyond, and how he was able to figure it out. Even without the help of a father, even without the help of too many mentors in his life, he was able to just figure it out. And he's really made some amazing headway. He's going to be sharing with us today. So I would encourage you to share this link with somebody that you know that is in a financial pickle. They're stuck. Maybe they're behind on their mortgage. They don't know what to do. They don't have enough month left at the end of their money. They need help with budgeting. Their credit score is not what it could be. And they would be wiped out if they had an emergency because they have 0 in their emergency savings account. So if you don't have $1,000 in your emergency savings account, you need to tune in because Roy Snarr is going to come on. He's going to talk in a little bit and give us some practical, amazing insights. And if you haven't started funding your retirement, you definitely want to tune in. And if you need ways to know how to eliminate expenses throughout the month, and we're going to get more in depth into this in the coming weeks because, you know, as a single dad of 4 sons, I had to figure out really quickly how to save money, how to make more money, how to create new revenue streams. What can you do? You begin to look around you. You begin to say, you know, maybe I don't have to run the air conditioner at 68 degrees every day in the summertime. Maybe I could wear lighter, thinner, cooler clothes in my house and not dress like an Eskimo in the summertime. Part of that was my upbringing. Part of that was growing up on the farm. Part of that was having practical parents that taught us a work ethic, that taught us practical things like not leaving the doors open and air conditioning the great outdoors, like winterizing your home in the wintertime, using different sources of heat, and also optimizing where you spend your time in the winter and the summer. Maybe it's a matter of putting in new windows, putting in new doors. In our home in the country where I grew up on the farm, we didn't live in the upstairs in the wintertime because it's too expensive to heat the upstairs. And so my brother and I shared a bedroom downstairs in the wintertime so mom and dad could conserve on the energy bill. And in the summertime, we would open it back up. And then we had our own room, and we had plenty of room to run and play because we had a whole nother story up there that was just my brother and I. We had our own bathroom, our own game room, all this extra space we could just totally utilize. I met a young man yesterday from South Dakota. We were in Houston together in a TV studio. And he grew up as one of 32 children. And so you can imagine, with 30 kids and 2 parents, the way his parents kept an eye on the utility bill is he would host a pizza party. Mom and dad would host a pizza party if they could keep the utility bill at $1,000 or below. And he said it's normally like 3 times a year they could get it at or below $1,000. Can you imagine? 32 people living under one roof. He said it wasn't a huge house, and they didn't order pizza. It was homemade pizza, but it was such an accomplishment. He said they would all be running around the house and closing windows and closing doors and turning out lights and doing everything they could to conserve, because they said, we want to conserve. We want to conserve energy. So if you're a business owner, if you're in direct sales, network marketing, if you're an insurance agent, if you're a mortgage broker, if you do sales for a living, this is for you. Billionaire Business Branding. I take the advice I learned from my mentors growing up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I talk about 3 billionaires that impacted me. 1 that I never met, 2 that I met and spent time with, and what they taught me. And then I go into the other 8 billionaires that poured into my life, shared things with me over the years. And the main thing that I learned from these billionaires and decamillionaires, because I do have some honorable mention millionaires that are worth up to $100 million that impacted me in a powerful way. And I know not everybody wants to be a billionaire, and that's okay. But you know what? You can start thinking like a billionaire. You can think like a billionaire. You can expand and grow like a billionaire. If you've lived in this way of competition and struggle, you've got to realize that when God put Adam and Eve in the garden, he blessed them. He blessed them and told them to be fruitful and multiply, and work was a joy. They enjoyed what they did. They enjoyed their work. It wasn't until they sinned and walked away from God that the curse came. Well, it says in Galatians 3 that Jesus has redeemed us from the curse of the law. And Ecclesiastes says God gives us joy in our work. You can actually find joy in your work, and joy in your work is a good thing. So I want to encourage you to find joy in your work. Text the word BBB. That doesn't stand for Better Business Bureau. That stands for Billionaire Business Branding, Billionaire Business Brand. Text BBB to my cell phone, 918-955-3227. And I'll interview you and see if you qualify to be a part of our 8-week Zoom online with 15 other powerful CEOs, entrepreneurs, and startups. Now, what are the qualifications to be in this group? You're somebody that's eager and hungry to take your business to the next level, or you're involved in a startup business where right now you have a corporate day job, but you have a plan and a strategy to start your own business. That's where I excel. That's where I succeed. So I had started the lawn mowing business. I ran an ad in the paper when I was 15 years old, and then I get all these calls. I ran an ad in the newspaper. I'd saved money for my lawnmower and my gas can and was saving for a weed eater. And I got 14 lawns as a result. Now, remember, we live 9 miles out in the country, okay? And so I hadn't thought about this, but now I've got to hire a driver. So I've got to hire somebody in my family to drive me to these lawn mowing jobs because I am not old enough to drive yet. And so I'm doing these lawns. I'm hiring my brother, my mom, dad to paying them gas money. They're investing their time and helping me, paying it forward to help this young struggling entrepreneur. And mom did something amazing. She would make me call Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Jones, and anytime it would rain on a Saturday, because the deal was, hey, I'm out of school on Saturdays, Sundays, church and family days, so I can mow your lawn. It's a busy day. I would start early Saturday morning, no sleeping in, 15 years old, going to mow these lawns, $20 a lawn, basically. If they were bigger, I'd charge them a little more. And Mom would say, if it was raining, she said, you call Miss Smith and you tell her you're not coming. And I'm like, Mom, she knows I'm not coming. It's raining outside. I'll tell her I'll get to it Tuesday. She said, nope, you call her right now. And so Mom would make me pick up that phone and dial that number. And you know what? That made me a better businessman. That got me over the fear of picking up the phone, over the fear of talking to my customer, getting feedback. Hey, Michael, last time you were over here, you left some grass. I want that grass raked up or bagged up. Don't you leave it out on my sidewalk or I'm going to fire you. Do you understand me? Yes, Mrs. Jones. Hello? Did you hang up on me? So I learned customer service. I learned how to ask for the business, ask for what my customer want. They want to walk around and show you the yard. I'm like, there's a yard. I've got a lawnmower. I'm going to mow it. You don't need to walk me around your lawn. Just stay inside. I'll come ask for the cash when I'm done. But they like to walk around and show you. So you listen to the customer. You listen to them complain about their last lawn mowing service. You listen to, their headache and their kids' problems and all these things. And you're like, okay, I'm so sorry, Mrs. Jones. Okay. And $20 okay for you? Let me get on this and I'll wrap it up for you. So that's all they want. They just want a little bit of time, a little bit of listening, a little bit of hand holding, let them know you empathize and are sorry to hear their last lawn mowing service did bad. Good for you. Good for you. You're here. Oh, your last service charged you $20? Well, Miss Jones, well, I'm going to do a better job for you and I'm going to charge you $25 and you won't have to deal with them. So it taught me how to negotiate. Didn't always get what I asked for, but at least I asked for it. And so sometimes I did. Sometimes I did, and it made a difference. So Mom made a difference there. But the local funeral home director noticed me driving around, being chauffeured around town and mowing all these lawns, that he actually reached out to me by way of my parents and hired me to take care of the funeral home and to mow his lawn and clean his cars and to, take care of things. Literally, I was doing everything at the funeral home my senior year in high school except embalming people, and he wanted me to do that. So when you're faithful, you get promoted and blessed with more. And when I sold that business to my brother for $1, I should have charged Kenny more. So Kenny, I'm going to call you today. A few years later, I started a janitorial company because I said to myself, what is a service everybody needs? And so while I'm going to college, I started a janitorial company. I learned how to buff floors, strip and wax floors, clean carpet, all those kind of things. In fact, I held on to that janitorial company for years. It did really good for me. And all 4 of my sons to this day know how to run a buffer, strip and wax a floor and clean carpet. So they could do concrete finishing work or any of that type of work because they've all ran a buffer. And so sold that business, built that business up to $1 million in the first year in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 14 employees, was going to franchise, but decided, you know what, franchising is on the decline. And this is not a trending industry. I don't want to be in an industry franchising it that's not trending. So I sold that business and started a PR firm. And that PR firm we still run to this day. We helped our first author get a movie deal, A Journey Through the Underworld of Human Trafficking. More Than Rice, Pamela Kendi Chestnut, former Miss California, title card pictures optioned her book for a movie. And I think I was the first person on Twitter to tweet out an entire book, and that got picked up, that got noticed, and it made a big difference for her and for that book. So I'm really excited. I want you to grab your pen. I want you to grab your paper because just in a few minutes, we got a special guest coming. His name is Roy Snarr, and you're going to love this. You're going to love the information that he shares. You're going to love the practical things that he shares on how you can put more money in your pocket. And if you've got more money in your pocket, there's better to have more money in your pocket than in somebody else's pocket, right? And so that's what we teach you how to do in billionaire business branding, how to brand yourself like a billionaire, how to think like a billionaire, how to act like a billionaire, impact like a billionaire, and give like a billionaire. So if you wanted to find out why some people succeed and why some people fail, I'm going to help you succeed in billionaire business branding. It's an 8-week course. We teach you how to write your book. I've helped thousands of people write their book. We teach you how to do your speech, how to get on stage. I've written books and trained people, helped people during the pandemic start a professional speaking business and make money online and make money speaking on stages. We help you do that. We help you find your voice, nail your elevator pitch, because it all comes down to your messaging. Your messaging. As a global book publisher, I walk into a room or an elevator and I have people giving me their cards. I have people asking if they can do business, begging to do business with me because they know somebody that's written a book or they've been wanting to write a book for years, and that's what I do. And so literally I can just say I'm a global book publisher, and in 3 seconds I have somebody's card and I'm ready to publish their book. So you want to make it easy for people to do business with you. You want to make it easy for people to engage you. You want to make it easy for people to say yes to you. And if they don't know what you do, and Daniel Gomez is a good example. If you see him, he's always wearing branded shirts about what he does. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Pakistan. We got Pakistan in the house. We got San Antonio in the house. We've got New York in the house. We've got Dallas, Texas in the house. It's just so good to see everybody here today. And in a few minutes, we're going to have Roy Snarr in the house talking about how to put more money into your pocket, because it really comes down to saving more. It's not, and McGinnis said this today, it's not how much you make, it's how much you save, how much money you can put away. It's very, very important. So on Michael D TV and the Michael D Show, every Tuesday morning, we provide tremendous value, tremendous resources to help you save more money, enjoy life more, and have a more fulfilling experience. So with that being said, welcome to the show, Mr. Roy Snarr. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Michael. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, really good to see you. Are you in Austin, Texas today?
I am. Technically Leander, just north of Austin, but yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's so great to have you here.
Thank you.
Those are a lot of initials behind your name.
Oh, yeah.
And so we only have people on that have lots of initials. So you're very qualified. I was telling them just a little hint about your story. I didn't give away the punchline or anything, but I mean, people are really hurting financially. This nation is $31 trillion in debt. The average family has had to use their credit cards this last year because of the recession. You know, gas prices has doubled, the eggs and the food, and you've got 3 kids. I've got 4 grown kids. So, I mean, if you're feeding a family, your grocery bill has gone up. It's requiring more money. And yet companies aren't giving raises. People are cutting back. Companies are laying off, and there's pretty much a recession. So what advice do you give? Tell us for people that are hurting, what advice can they do right now?
So the number one thing that you can do right now, if you're hurting financially, number one, go through all of your expenses. You will be amazed on how many little tiny subscriptions that you may have. I do this every year too. Every January, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I'm spending $9 a month to Apple or Amazon or whatever it may be. You want to be able to go through all those subscriptions, cut that out. And then you want to focus on saving even more money by reshopping all of your insurances, your home and auto and other types of subscription plans that you have. Even calling your local cable company to see if there's a new deal that you can get, or reduce your Wi-Fi speed a bit to save that money. It may not seem like a lot, but it's the principle of actually doing it. And then you take those savings and you redivert them to the highest interest credit card and start knocking that down. Because if you can have a life where you have enough cash flow coming in and reduced expenses, you'll be a lot less stressed. And that's the whole point. That's the problem that people have.
I love it. You know, I cut the cable a few years ago, and I haven't missed it. You know, I get my news on YouTube and podcasts and things like that. So there's so many things that you can do. Now you and your wife have 3 kids. You've got a brand new baby, Roy. You got 2 girls and little Roy there. Tell us a little bit about you. You're the #1 long-term care agent in the state of Texas. But tell us a little bit about your story. I mean, you're so financially successful now, but how did you go? How did you get there? And a lot of people might think, well, you probably had your dad or your granddad probably gave you this agency, right?
Yeah, I wish that would have been a lot easier, but unfortunately that didn't happen. We come from a background of hillbillies. We're just a bunch of loggers and farmers and construction workers. No real financial background. The only real windfall we ever had, we sold our farm and there was some money there, but that was about it. Other than that, I mean, literally the way I started was just the school of hard knocks. My mother became disabled, so I developed a passion to see how this actually happened, how one car accident wiped us out financially. And then from that point, I started studying and researching, and then I became an asset protection specialist. There's a lot of different types of advisors out there, but my passion was, hey, how do we protect the asset? Not how do we grow it or pick the right stock. I want to be able to protect it so that people cannot go through the same thing that we went through. Now, I'm very fortunate and blessed that what we have gone through, because it has enabled us to help thousands of people across the country. But in the very beginning, it was a challenge. I would literally sit at Starbucks and wait for people like yourself, Michael, to come on in. Then I would say, hey, sir, by the way,
you were one of those guys, right?
I was one of those guys. I'd say, can you do me a favor and give me your opinion on this survey that I'm doing for my company? And the survey would be about life insurance or long-term care or annuity, something to protect the family. And then I would gain a little bit of interest. And I would do that. I did that for over a year at the same Starbucks. And I would go to hotels and use their printers because I didn't have any money for a printer.
Yeah. That's very innovative. Was there somebody in your life? I mean, that's called guerrilla marketing.
Oh, yeah.
How did you stumble upon that concept? Did you have a mentor or a coach?
Desperation is how I stumbled upon it. So I was hungry, and I had to figure it out. So I said, hey, I saw all these other people successful in the insurance business. I'm like, well, how are they doing it? And, I didn't have the giant network of people. I moved to the Bay Area at the time, knowing only my half sister. That was it. And I just had to build it myself.
Oh, the living expenses in the Bay Area, that's pretty easy, right?
Yeah, they're really cheap when you sleep in your truck. So that's what I did for a little while. And then I was able to partner up. And I had a friend that had a mom that had a room for rent and a trailer. And I rented a room and a trailer. And I slept there and worked there. And I made it happen. But it was
you made it happen. So hunger was a good motivator for you. So at the time you were single, I guess, when you started, or were you married?
Oh, yes. There's no way. Yeah. Actually, what's funny is I started dating my wife today at that time. So she started with the bottom up and has grown with me, which is very awesome.
That is so cool. Because some guys start attracting women when they're worth money, right? And they're older and they got this money and these nice cars. But your wife helped you build this. She was there supporting you when you were. So she saw something in you. She's like, this guy is going places.
Yes, exactly. And that's what was really cool. I've always wanted that, right? I always wanted somebody to start with me from the very beginning and grow with me. I didn't want to find somebody once we had the wealth and the money, because then it could create a different perception, right? I wanted somebody that loved me for who I was. And I found that, which was awesome. And then, when we first started dating, I was on an air mattress that had a big bubble in it. I didn't even have sheets on it. I didn't care. I'm simple. I could still sleep on an air mattress. Yeah. She goes, you better start making some more money and actually get your own place and get a real mattress. I was like, I'm working on it. I'm getting there.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So tell me a little bit. So your mom has this accident. You're 14 years old. I mean, your life kind of spirals from there. You're just wanting to play with your Pokemon cards. Give me a picture of that.
Yeah. So when I was 14, my mother got in an accident. I remember us getting the phone call and said, hey, your mom's in an accident. She's okay, but she's at the hospital getting checked out. And I was like, wow, I hope everything's all right. We're kind of freaked out. But what that accident did, there was a pre-existing condition that we were unaware of at the time, which was degenerative disc disease. So what that accident did is it accelerated that. And she was no longer able to go to work full time. So she lost her job, no disability insurance. There was no other types of insurance for critical or chronic type of illnesses, nothing whatsoever. So she lost her job. A divorce came out of it with my stepfather at that time. So we lost the house during the divorce, all of this. And she's permanently disabled at this point, laying in bed. She had to go through multiple neck surgeries. We ended up moving 3 hours north in the middle of high school, which is real fun to do. Middle of high school, 3 hours north up to my grandparents' house and live with them. And they got kicked out of their house because my grandmother started losing her mind. And then we moved to a travel trailer for a while I was going to high school. Literally a travel trailer that was like a 26-footer. And that's where we're at. The only source of money we had was a Social Security disability income check. So that's where I developed the passion for Social Security and figuring out how this program, helped save us essentially. And so that was the very beginning of it all. And what that does, in my opinion, and I tell other people this that are going through a hard time, people will, how do you influence people is by going through things. You can have empathy for them, right? Not just sympathy. And so this way allows me to emphasize with people and to help them be like, look, I've been through some crazy stuff also. You can get through it.
I appreciate the innovation. I mean, the fact that you're running flyers in the hotel lobbies and stuff like that. I mean, that's a young hustler right there. I remember starting my janitorial company when I was frozen food manager at Walmart in college. And, I was doing something similar. I can remember on when 9/11 happened, my store was doing inventory. It's one of the busiest super centers in the country. And I'd started my janitorial company, and I was overseeing my guys cleaning buildings all night. I had to call my brother and say, hey, come help us do these buildings because these buildings have got to get done. These are new customers, and we're doing inventory. When the second plane flew in, I had been up for almost 3 days, and I'm just like a zombie, and I'm kind of in a trance, and I go back to my apartment and crash, and it's all a blur, and I wake up and wonder what happened. But I admire, because, you know, you were there when we launched the second volume of Powerful Female Immigrants 2 weeks ago, speaking awesome. On our stage and speaking to these ladies, hearing these stories. And we just had McGenna on right before you came, talking about working 100 hours a week and saving money. And she said, you know, you can literally save a lot more money than you think. And we were just going through this because she grew up on the farm. I grew up on the farm. But when you shared that in Dallas about running copies at the Hotel 6 or at the Holiday Inn, the managers start seeing you and they start noticing, oh, you're the bald guy. You're running those copies. Yeah. Okay, get out of here. So,
exactly. I would even go to the Four Seasons because it was a nice hotel. So the Bay Area, fortunately, it's kind of a higher end area. Yeah. And I just walk in there like I own the place. I order coffee. And I didn't even, you know, the thing about saving money. At Starbucks, you used to be able to get a large coffee, a venti, and then they would give you 50-cent refills. I would use that same cup for over a week. It would get so soggy and fall apart. And then I have to ask them, hey, can I get another cup to line it, please? They're like, just here, have a free coffee. And I was like, all right, cool. You know, so we've all been there. And if you keep that same mindset, not necessarily the scarcity mindset, but the frugalness in order to maximize every ounce of whatever you have to deal with, it really helps you go a long way. And it's helped us.
My mom was the master frugal, how would you say frugal? I'm trying to match frugal with sommelier. It's not quite working, but she was very frugal like that. I was telling McGanna she would be throwing out the green vegetables like the broccoli and the cabbage and things and the Brussels sprouts, but she would put them in the chocolate cake to make sure we got our veggies and stuff.
Oh, wow.
So Roy, kind of for somebody, say my age, I turned 55 last week, and you know what? I don't have enough saved for retirement. And, you know, I'm an entrepreneur. I work for myself, so I don't even have a company looking out for me. What's kind of the conversation you have with people to figure out what they need to do to protect themselves against, you know, a catastrophe?
Yeah. So number one, like, you know, if you work at a company, you may have an investment with a 401k. When you're the business owner, your business is your investment. So I'm a big proponent of that. But what we need to look at, which most people don't, they have it flipped upside down. They have the financial pyramid where they say, hey, I'm going to start putting money into stocks, bonds, mutual funds, IRAs, Roths, savings accounts, you know, all this, but they don't have anything for protection. What if something happens like it did with my own life? Everything's going to be wiped out. So the number one thing to do is have an emergency fund that's equivalent to 6 months of your average living expenses, not just your fixed bills, just your living expenses. Number one, that's going to make you feel a lot less stressed. Number two, during that accumulation of those savings, you need to have protection. Life insurance is number one. And then, because at your age, at 55, long-term care is important to consider, but life insurance is more important because if you pass away, there's no more Michael D. How is Muyan going to run the company and do all that? You need to protect her and the family and the legacy and everything. And the cheapest way to create money is through insurance. Like one of the things I tell people, ironically, is like, you don't need life insurance. You don't need long-term care. I go, what? Don't you sell that? I go, yeah. You know what you need? Cash. So how are you going to come up with a couple $1 million? I don't know. What if we could do it for a few $1,000s? Would that make sense? They go, well, yeah. How do you do that? Life insurance or whatever it may be. So that's the thing. You need to have enough adequate coverage in case a heart attack, stroke, cancer, or you pass away happens, that your whole life's work is not gone to the wayside.
I can remember the first thing I did when I was 20 and I got married. I was so young. I couldn't grow a mustache. I was trying to grow a mustache for my wedding. I was trying to grow a mustache for my wedding, and June 4th was the wedding date. And I've been trying for 6 months. And finally, by June 4th, 1988, you could see a couple little stray hairs there. And I should have just shaved it. But the week after we got back from the honeymoon, or maybe it was before, I don't recall. It's been so long ago, because that was literally 35 years ago, I bought my first policy. I bought my first life insurance policy. You know, the scripture says that a good man provides an inheritance to his children's children. Yep. And the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. So, you know, being a pastor for years, you would see these widows who, there was no thought or preparation. Maybe their husband was military, maybe their husband worked for a company and got a little bit, but it was just really enough to bury them. It wasn't enough to retire the mortgage or do anything that they needed to do. So I've got your website up. What's the best way for people to find you, reach out to you, jump on your calendar, ask you more questions?
Yeah, the best way is just to literally type my name into Google. Just go to Roy Snarr, Snarr, with 2 R's. You'll see me. I dominate Google with that cool, really weird, awkward last name, Snarr. And from there, it depends. If you're a consumer looking for advice and assistance and non-bias approaches, that's what we offer. We work with over 50 different carriers. So we're like the brokers, essentially, of the insurance world. You can go there to that site. If you're an agent or an agency owner, there's a whole entire training platform and program we have to help show you how you can impact thousands of people in their lives the way that we've done, and also create a massive success for yourself. And then we have a third site where it's just, if you're just a non-industry specific business and you're looking for branding, coaching, guidance, publishing that we work with you on, we do that also. So all that can be found on just the roysnarr.com, and you can navigate through there.
Hey, you got a couple of great books as well. We sold out of yours here in the office. Do you have a couple of books you can show us there with you?
Yeah, actually, let me grab some real quick.
You go grab those. And while you're grabbing those, I want to tell everybody and thank Roy, because Roy is our first corporate donor for 1040 Impact. As you know, 1040 Impact, we rescue kids from human trafficking, and we make that happen. We take care of 328 girls on a daily basis in Pakistan. We have 4 safe houses, and Roy's company is a monthly sponsor, a monthly donor, and he's helping us feed, clothe, educate these kids on a daily, weekly basis with our team there in Pakistan. So 100% of the proceeds of powerful female immigrants goes to support 1040 Impact. And then also, if you're a business or an individual that wants to make a donation, 1040 Impact. Now, Roy, you've got a couple great books that we've published. You've actually launched your own publishing company that you're white labeling to us, that we're doing the work in the back end for you. But tell us about the books you've got here. This is great information for somebody that says, hey, I want to get Roy on a call or on a calendar, but I want to read the book first so I know what questions to ask when I get in front of you.
Yeah, great. So we do a couple things. One of them is Social Security planning. I'm actually one of I think there's 3,000 now in the entire country, National Social Security advisors. I don't work for Social Security. I just know a lot about it, and I help people get the most out of their benefits. And that's why we wrote the book, Social Security 101. This book breaks down high level over the 100,000 pages that are on Social Security's website. It gives people a general idea of how to maximize their benefit. And then from there, if they want more information, we run them a Social Security report. We incorporate that with their retirement plans. We put it all together. But Social Security should be the starting point. And far too often, people are given ill advice that they just say, wait till 70. And that's not necessarily the best thing. The second thing that we wrote about was long-term care. This is very close to me because in addition to my mother's situation, I also lived through 4 long-term care situations. So it was a complete whammy. There was about a decade of my life. It was just travesty. And that's why we wrote this book. It's very simple. It's 88 pages. And after reading this, if you don't want to have any type of long-term care protection, you're either mentally insane or you're going to move to the Cayman Islands and live on a gold boat. That's how simple and clear this is. It really illustrates the point. And just get it to read it, become educated, because most people have these preconceived notions about insurance and asset protection. And we help demystify those to provide non-biased information.
So is this a book I need to wait till I'm 70 or 80 to read, or should I read it now that I'm 55?
Read it now while you're 55, especially you at 55. The closer to God you get, Michael, the more expensive it is, right? And so,
you know what I realized? I was at the gym this morning. I got up at 3 a.m. At 5 a.m. I'm at the gym, and I thought I'm gonna check my height because they have this new scale that's got the height thing. Yeah. I used to be 6'2". Today, oh, this killed me, Roy. I'm only 6'1" now. I've shrunk a whole inch in the last decade. I'm gonna have to get these boots where I can start hanging upside down in my doorway. You know, where you can do the table.
You got to keep moving that way. You don't want to grow out. You're not going to grow up anymore. You don't want to grow out. So
I don't want to grow out. I want to get closer to God, but I want to get my inch back. So this book is going to help me figure out how to have more money to take care of me the rest of my time, and also to look after my family.
It is. Yeah. And then you and I are working on another book together right now. And it's going to be about scaling a practice to 7 figures. It's going to be more specific to insurance. However, the fundamentals are all the same in any business. So we're going to make it kind of more generic that way to help other entrepreneurs get an idea of and how to actually budget the money. Cause that's another big piece that's in there. And a part of these books as well is budgeting and saving enough money.
Well, for business owners, there's Key Man Insurance. We talked about that last week. What would you say to a business owner about Billionaire Business Brand? Do you see value in them being a part of the mastermind?
Oh yeah, huge value. The number one thing about the mastermind is that you're going to be a part of a like people. Okay. That's the number one takeaway that you get there. Plus you get coaching from yourself and you get to hear from other people. And one of the cool things, you titled it Billionaire Mastermind. That's because you've been mentored by billionaires. I don't even know one vicariously through you, but that's about it. So this is what's really valuable. I don't know of another mastermind program that we actually have an influence of billionaires there. Plus the people that are there, all high level, all doing big things. They want to become a part of something larger than themselves. And those are the people you want to surround yourself with.
There's only 2 spots left. It's $5,000 in value. It runs for 8 weeks, and it'll probably be full by the time you hear this. But if you text BBB to my cell phone, 918-955-3227, I'll interview you. If you qualify, we'll get you in there. You probably won't. It's probably too late. But if you can, it's worth the investment, because for $297, you get a $5,000. It's probably a $10,000 value by the time you break everything down that you get for that. And not to mention the camaraderie in the group with 15 other people that are at Roy Snarr's level. It's just amazing. Well, Roy, I want to thank you for being with us today. I want to hold up your books again. I want to encourage everybody to buy your books. They're available everywhere now on Amazon, barnesandnoble.com. Number one everywhere. Long-term care, Social Security 101. Like he said, type in his name and he dominates the internet. You've been speaking everywhere. Just got off a major stage in Las Vegas, speaking to 1,000 insurance agent and Medicare Con. And what do you have coming up? In closing, tell us, you've got some amazing marketing strategies. In fact, you're interviewing me in your TV studio in Austin here in a couple of weeks. But you've got an entire academy. You've really blown this business up. In fact, we had another insurance agent on the mastermind last week that is so excited to meet with you and learn how to scale to 7 figures like you've done. What all are you doing, and what's the next step for Roy Snarr?
Yeah, thanks so much for that. In the past, we were just focusing on just consumers and production. We weren't looking at scaling the agency model side of things, which is a whole other animal. But now I stepped back. I said, how do I scale this practice and influence more people and make a bigger impact? And I can't do it all by myself. And so the better way to do that, I said, like, if I can help other agencies build a multi-million-dollar practice that we have built, I can help them impact thousands of people throughout their career and change their individual lives. That would be amazing. And the way to do that in our practice, I basically share my entire life story on how to scale and grow, all through our training platforms and our one-on-one coaching calls and our speaking events. And that mind shift, right? That also being a part of the billionaire mindset group here, that's really helped stretch my imagination, because it's easy to get pigeonholed or boxed in when you're in a solo industry like myself. And I was like, this is crazy. I need to be doing way more. I have the capabilities. And just that shift in mindset has opened so many doors. And now we're speaking on another main stage platform that you're going to be a part of, Michael. It's 8% Nation coming up here in July in Dallas. There's going to be over 1,200 agents there. You and I both have our own breakout sessions at that event to help mentor and coach one-on-one people, up to 200 in each room. So it's just growing and perpetuating itself. You put that out there in the universe and you do the work and it all comes to you. It's awesome.
Well, you did something pretty amazing that a lot of people aspire to write a book. And I talk to people every week that, reach out to us, because for years they've been trying to write their book. 6 years. I think the longest one I've heard is like 35 or 40 years. I've been trying to write this book. You actually crank these books out. Like you said, you're doing your 4th book now. How have you found the time? Because you got the same 24 hours in the day as everybody, and you've got a lot more diapers to change than most people.
Yeah.
How do you get it done?
I always think about the same 24 hours in a day. I look at other people that are successful in my industry and other industries. I'm like, how are they doing it? What do we have in common? What are we equal at? Well, we're equal in time. And that's like, if they can do it.
Last night you texted me about 10 o'clock. You were out running. I was already in bed. And I got that text at 3 a.m. when I wake up. I'm like, well, I missed that one.
Yeah. Well, we're a 24-hour shop. You know what I mean? I'm asleep at 3, you're up. So it all works out. But it's really hard to find the time. That's the most critical part, because it's like I wish I knew all this before we had kids and everything else, because kids, they're very time consuming and they're selfish. They want all your time. They
do,
don't
right?
care. And I love giving that time to them. So I have to time block it. When I come home at 6 or 7, depending on the day, then once I'm home, I am home. And it is hard to disconnect, but I give that time all the way till their bedtime. After they go to bed, I walk the dog, and that's where I do my run with the dog. I come back and then I go to bed myself. And then in the morning, we get to spend some time with the kids. And then the weekends, unless there's an event that I'm going to, the weekends are 100%. We call it like Datter days for Saturdays, like the 100% focus on the kids. And it's hard. You have to balance it out, because could I scale a little bit faster? I could. But the one thing I can do, I can always make more money. I can't make more time. And I don't want to miss those memories of the kids. And it's hard enough trying to balance it now.
Hey, sleep will come soon enough. I tell you, they grow up so fast. So go ahead and reach out to Roy Snarr, get on his calendar. We failed to say your mom actually has come full circle. She works for you now. I can't wait to meet her. What's the most rewarding thing about what you guys do now for people?
Well, the most rewarding thing, we don't charge people, like consumers, to work with them at all. There's no financial planning fee. There's no management fee we attack on. We've designed our revenue model to be paid directly from the financial institutions or insurance companies. And when those companies and institutions pay us, it's not out of the client's money. It's out of the company's money. So we make less revenue per client, but it allows us to have non-biased advice, and we get tons of referrals. The most rewarding part is that if something happens, either economically, their money is protected. If they pass away, they need care, their family is protected, because the world doesn't care. The world wants the money. The bill collectors, the mortgage company's not going to say, hey, you're a nice person. We'll go ahead and forgive you. They don't care. So we are that person that comes into their lives to help protect against the worst case scenario. And ever since COVID, we've helped save a lot of families financially by writing claims.
That's huge. I've known you for over a year, and I did not know that. I referred business to you, and I did not know that. So it's powerful to know. Go ahead and jump on Roy's calendar at roysnarr.com. He's #1 in long-term care in Texas, in the top 10 in the nation. You've even got a lot of agents that you're underwriting their long-term care because they don't want to mess with it. They're great agents and taking care of their customers with their lines of insurance, but they just don't want to mess with that because you've explained to me it's very labor intensive to do all that stuff. But you have this big passion to help people in that regard. So reach out to Roy, no matter, I guess, in any state of the union, they can reach out to you.
Yeah, we work with everybody. We actually are one of the only agencies that has exclusive access to insurance and planning products in states like New York and California, which are very limited. We have full distribution of all the top plans that most advisors there don't even know about. So it's a great way to help make a big impact on those people that are stuck in those states or enjoying those states, however you want to view it.
Well, I know when you came off the stage in Vegas a few weeks ago, I mean, agents were just swarming you and your team. And so the demand for you to speak and do other things there, we're going to have you back. And you're involved in some of our other events or some of our other events that Beyond Publishing does as our sponsor. I want to thank you again for being a part of 1040 Impact, your donations to 1040 Impact. They're helping so many kids. And, guys, this is an agent. I always loved the local agents. When I grew up on the small town farm in Oklahoma, they were the insurance agents who sponsored, the ball team or sponsored the basketball team and bought the shirts and bought the pizza because it was so cool. You got your picture in the paper with the coach and the insurance agent there that was sponsoring the team. But these are the guys like Roy who really believe in the local community, really believe in doing positive things. And we've got an exciting announcement coming soon because 1040 Impact, for the longest time, we've said, we love helping the kids in 1040 window over in Asia and Pakistan from Afghanistan and everything. But we want to do something here in Texas and Oklahoma locally. So we'll be making an announcement soon about that. And we just want to say, Roy, we appreciate you. Going to have you back. We're here every Tuesday. It's called the Michael D Show, where we stream live. We talk about anything you want to talk about. We even delve into some capitalism, some politics, the Constitution, Second Amendment, First Amendment stuff. We're not afraid to talk about stuff the others are afraid to talk about. And so exciting stuff coming up. Big day, busy week. Jump on Roy's calendar. I want to thank you, Roy, for popping in. This has been the Michael D Show. And leave us with one dose of wisdom. What is one of the proverbs you live by, or one of the mottos you live by, or where do you find your inspiration? Leave us with 15 seconds of inspiration.
where I find my inspiration is making an impact in other people's lives. If you take a selfless approach to that, like a lot of the agents that we mentor, I say, don't look at the commission structure. Just do what's best for the client. And it always comes full circle. So one of the biggest things is don't expect anything in return.
It's kind of like McGinnis said in the book, people over profits. You'll never have to worry about profits if you focus on people. Roy Snarr, thanks for being with us. Thanks for being on the Michael D Show. Next week, we've got a great guest. She's a best-selling author. Her name's Josette Hill, and she's going to be speaking about her book, How to Get AAA Credit in 90 Days. Thanks, Roy. Have a great day, friends. Go out and change the world and make some magic happen. Thanks for joining us.